Most people have wondered about this at least once. If you follow Mat Armstrong and his car rebuild videos, you might have asked yourself a simple question. What happens if the supply runs out? What if fewer cars crash in the future? What if manufacturers become so strict that damaged cars are no longer available to independent rebuilders? At first, it sounds like a real concern. After all, exotic cars like Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and McLarens are expensive, rare, and built with advanced technology. It feels like there should be a limit to how many of them end up damaged or written off. But the truth is very different from what most people imagine. In fact, the supply of crashed exotic cars is not shrinking at all. It is actually growing every single year, and the reasons behind this are surprisingly simple. Once you understand the numbers, the behavior of car owners, and how the industry works, it becomes very clear that Mat Armstrong is in a position where he will likely never run out of projects. Not just for the next few years, but possibly for decades. This is not based on guesswork or opinion. It is based on basic math, real-world patterns, and how people interact with high-performance machines. And once you see it from this perspective, you start to realize that his entire career is built on something far more stable than it looks from the outside. To understand why the supply is endless, we need to start with the numbers. Across the world, there are hundreds of thousands of exotic and high-performance cars on the road today. When you combine brands like Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, Porsche GT models, Aston Martin, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, and high-end versions of Mercedes and BMW, the total number becomes very large. Even if we take a conservative estimate, there are at least 500,000 such vehicles globally. Now here is the important part. Every year, a small percentage of these cars are involved in accidents or suffer serious damage. Even if only 3% of them are damaged annually, that still results in around 15,000 crashed exotic cars every year. That means more than 40 cars every single day. Think about that for a moment. Every day, somewhere in the world, dozens of high-end performance cars are being damaged badly enough to enter the salvage market. Now compare that to how many cars someone like Mat Armstrong can rebuild. Even at a very high pace, he might complete around 15 to 20 major projects per year. That is a tiny fraction of the total supply. Even if he increased his output massively, he would still not come close to running out of cars to work on. The gap between supply and demand is simply too large. And this gap is not closing. In fact, it is getting bigger every year. The reason the gap keeps growing is because the total number of exotic cars in the world is increasing rapidly. Manufacturers are producing more cars now than ever before. Ferrari builds thousands of cars every year. Lamborghini has increased its production significantly. McLaren continues to expand its lineup. Porsche produces a large number of high-performance GT models annually. And beyond these brands, there are many other luxury manufacturers adding to the total count. Altogether, the number of exotic and high-performance cars on the road grows by tens of thousands every year. This means that the base number keeps increasing, and as the base grows, even a small percentage of accidents results in a larger number of damaged cars. In simple terms, more cars on the road means more chances for accidents. It is basic probability. Even if driving conditions improve or safety systems become better, the sheer increase in the number of vehicles ensures that accidents will continue to happen. This creates a steady and growing flow of damaged cars entering the market. So instead of running out, the supply is actually expanding over time. This is one of the key reasons why Mat Armstrong's type of content is future-proof. The industry itself is constantly feeding new opportunities into the system. Another important factor is where these cars come from. Mat does not rely on a single source to find damaged vehicles. There are multiple salvage auction platforms around the world where insurance companies send cars that have been written off. These platforms list thousands of vehicles every day, including a steady stream of high-end and exotic models. When one car is sold, another one takes its place. The system is always moving. There is no fixed inventory. It is a continuous cycle where damaged cars enter the market, get sold, and are replaced by new ones. And it is not limited to one country. There are auctions in the UK, the United States, Europe, and the Middle East. Each of these markets contributes to the global supply. Even if one region slows down, others continue to produce new listings. This creates a network of sources that keeps the pipeline full. On top of that, there are also private sales, dealer connections, and direct purchases from owners. All of these channels add to the availability of cars. So even if one platform becomes more restrictive or competitive, there are many alternatives. This makes it extremely difficult for the supply to dry up. The system is simply too large and too active, but numbers and systems are only part of the story. The biggest reason the supply never stops comes down to human behavior. Exotic cars are not normal vehicles. They are built for speed, performance, and excitement. People who buy them often want to experience that performance. They want to feel the acceleration, test the limits, and enjoy the power. However, not every owner has the skill or experience to handle such machines safely. Many of these cars produce 600, 700, or even 1,000 horsepower. They can accelerate incredibly fast and reach very high speeds. For an average driver, this level of performance can be difficult to control, especially in challenging conditions like wet roads, cold weather, or unfamiliar environments. Sometimes, drivers overestimate their abilities. Sometimes they make small mistakes that lead to big consequences. And sometimes they push the car too hard in the wrong situation. These factors create a natural and unavoidable risk. As long as people continue to drive these cars, a certain percentage of them will crash. It is not about being negative. It is simply how probability works when humans interact with powerful machines. And because new people are always buying these cars, the cycle continues. New owners often need time to understand the limits of their vehicle, and during that learning period, mistakes can happen. This adds even more cars to the salvage pool. Finally, not all damage comes from driving errors. There are many other ways exotic cars end up in salvage auctions. Flood damage is one example, especially in areas with heavy rain or poor drainage. These cars sit low to the ground and have complex electronics, making them vulnerable to water. Fire damage is another factor, as high-performance engines and electrical systems can sometimes fail. Hailstorms can cause serious cosmetic damage. Cars can be stolen and later recovered in damaged condition. Transport accidents can occur when vehicles are being shipped or moved. All of these situations add to the number of damaged cars entering the market every year. When you combine all these factors together, growing production, constant usage, human behavior, and external risks, you get a system that continuously generates new rebuild opportunities. This is why the idea of running out of crashed cars is not realistic. The supply is not just stable, it is expanding. And as long as the world continues to produce and enjoy high-performance vehicles, creators like Mat Armstrong will always have something to work on. Another interesting point is the effect of manufacturer restrictions on repairs. Some car brands try to control who can work on their vehicles, especially after serious accidents. They might limit access to spare parts, require specialized tools, or insist on certified workshops. On the surface, this might seem like a threat to someone like Mat Armstrong, who works independently. However, in reality, this restriction actually increases the value of his skills and services. When cars are severely damaged, the ability to safely restore them outside of a manufacturer's exclusive network becomes extremely rare and valuable. Mat has developed expertise that few others possess, which allows him to tackle projects that dealerships might avoid or charge an enormous premium for. This unique position ensures that even if access to some resources becomes more difficult, the demand for his knowledge, craftsmanship, and problem-solving will continue to grow. Essentially, the more exclusive and restricted the repair ecosystem becomes, the more essential independent experts like him are. This creates a kind of career protection that most people in other industries can only dream of. Geography also plays a role in Mat's ongoing access to projects. While he focuses primarily on the UK and parts of Europe, this is just a fraction of the global exotic car market. Even within this region, thousands of exotic vehicles are damaged and sold through auctions and private sales every year. Conservative estimates suggest that 3,000 to 4,000 crashed exotics enter salvage auctions in Europe alone annually. Considering that Mat completes only 15 to 20 major projects per year, he is capturing less than 1% of the available cars. Even if he wanted to double or triple his output, there would still be a massive supply left untouched. Beyond Europe, There are auction platforms in the United States, the Middle East, and other markets, each contributing hundreds of high-end vehicles per month. This global network of salvage sources ensures that geographic limitations do not restrict access. No matter where he focuses, there is always a pipeline of cars ready to be repaired, restored, and turned into content for enthusiasts around the world. Psychology and behavior of exotic car owners are another critical factor. People who buy high-performance vehicles are often thrill-seekers by nature. They want to test the limits of their cars, experience the power and speed, and sometimes show off for friends or social media audiences. While this makes sense for enjoyment, it also increases the risk of accidents. Overestimating skill, underestimating a car's capabilities, or simply being caught in a moment of poor judgment all contribute to crashes. Additionally, high-horsepower vehicles are more difficult to control under certain conditions. Even experienced drivers can find themselves in situations that lead to damage. When combined with factors such as wet roads, unfamiliar tracks, or traffic situations, the likelihood of accidents becomes statistically inevitable. This creates a continuous flow of low-mileage, high-value crashed vehicles that are exactly what Matt prefers for his projects. These cars offer both content and profit potential, making them highly sought after within the salvage and rebuild community. It is also important to recognize non-driver-related damage. Exotic vehicles are expensive, complex, and sensitive to environmental factors. Flooding, fire, hail, theft recovery, and transport accidents all contribute additional vehicles to the salvage pool. Each year, thousands of exotic cars are affected by these types of incidents, which add to the already steady stream caused by driver error. For example, high-end cars often feature low ground clearance, making them vulnerable to floods. Their advanced electronics can be damaged by water or fire, and severe weather events like hailstorms can leave them unfit for sale without repair. Shipping and transport are other potential sources of damage, particularly when vehicles are being moved internationally. These combined factors create a diverse and growing pool of cars ready for restoration. Even if some types of accidents were reduced, others would continue to feed the salvage system, ensuring an almost unending supply for someone with Matt's skills and access. Finally, consider the role of probability and statistics. The world produces more exotic cars every year, new drivers enter the market constantly, and accidents continue to happen. The math alone supports the idea that Mat Armstrong's career is sustainable. Even if he completed every single project available in 1 year, it would take hundreds of years to exhaust the annual supply of crashed cars. Add to that the fact that production is growing, global distribution is expanding, and accidents will always occur due to human behavior, and it becomes clear that running out of projects is essentially impossible. The cycle is self-perpetuating. Every car repaired or sold is replaced by new cars entering the market. The flow never stops. This is why his career, while dependent on a niche skill, is also incredibly secure. Not only does he have a near-infinite supply of cars to rebuild, but each new year brings more opportunities, more challenges, and more projects than any single person could complete. In conclusion, Mat Armstrong's ability to never run out of crashed cars is rooted in a combination of mathematics, human behavior, market structure, and his unique skill set. The global population of exotic cars continues to grow, and a small but consistent percentage will always be damaged annually. Human drivers will always make mistakes, and external factors like weather, theft, and transport accidents will continue to add vehicles to salvage networks. Manufacturer restrictions only increase the value of experts like Matt, while a global network of auction platforms ensures continuous access to new projects. Put simply, his career is supported by systems that are constantly self-renewing. As long as exotic cars exist, people drive them, and accidents happen, Mat Armstrong will always have crashed vehicles to fix. This combination of opportunity, skill, and inevitability makes his work both fascinating and virtually future-proof, offering him a career that few in the automotive world could ever imagine achieving. One way to really understand why Mat Armstrong's career is future-proof is to look at the variety of cars he works on. Exotic and luxury vehicles are not just rare, they are diverse. Each brand has its own engineering, quirks, and maintenance challenges. For example, Lamborghinis are known for their dramatic styling and naturally aspirated V10 or V12 engines, which require precise work when damaged. Ferraris, on the other hand, combine advanced aerodynamics with hybrid technology in some models, making repairs extremely technical. McLaren's focus on lightweight carbon fiber construction, which can be difficult and expensive to restore if cracked or broken. Porsche GT cars, although slightly more common, often involve high-performance engines and intricate electronics that require careful attention during rebuilding. Rolls-Royce, Bentley, and high-end Mercedes models add another layer of complexity, with custom interiors, sophisticated chassis systems, and expensive luxury materials. For someone like Matt, each project is not just a rebuild. It's a combination of art, engineering, and problem-solving. This variety ensures that even if one type of car becomes rare or less frequently damaged, there are always other brands and models entering the market. The diversity of vehicles acts like a safety net, guaranteeing a continuous flow of new challenges and opportunities. Looking closer at the numbers by brand also shows how resilient this market is. Take Ferrari, for instance. There are over 250,000 Ferraris on the road worldwide, and the company produces around 14,000 new vehicles each year. Lamborghini, while smaller in total numbers, produces about 10,000 cars annually. McLaren adds roughly 5,000 new cars each year, and Porsche's GT models contribute another 10,000 vehicles annually. Even if only a fraction of these cars, say 3%, experience significant damage each year, it still results in thousands of cars entering the salvage system. And remember, this is only considering driver-related accidents. When you add environmental damage, theft recovery, flood damage, hail, or shipping accidents, the total number of available projects grows significantly. In just Europe and the UK, thousands of exotic vehicles are damaged and resold each year, and Matt completes only a small fraction of these projects annually. The math is staggering. Even if he doubled or tripled his workload, the pipeline would still be overflowing with opportunities. Another layer to this is the auctions and platforms Matt has access to. Copart, for example, lists thousands of vehicles daily, including exotic and high-end models. Of the thousands of vehicles listed each day, hundreds are exotic cars, which equates to thousands of potential projects every month. Add to that BCA, Mannheim, insurance auto auctions, and private sales, and the total number of available cars skyrockets. If one platform slows down or becomes more competitive, others continue to provide inventory. This multi-platform access means that Matt's supply chain is highly diversified, which protects him against potential disruptions. He is not reliant on a single source, and this redundancy is critical for sustaining long-term access to crashed cars. The system is self-renewing. Every car sold or repaired is replaced by a new damaged car, ensuring that the market never empties. Psychology also plays a major role in ensuring a steady supply of projects. Exotic car owners are often risk-takers or enthusiasts who push their cars to the limit. They want to experience speed, acceleration, and handling at levels far beyond normal vehicles. But high horsepower and advanced performance do not guarantee control. Even skilled drivers can make mistakes.